Jacob T. Davis here, Woodbridge Real Estate with.
You got Jared Evenson over here, and you got a special guest today, Jacob.
We got my man, the Honorable Roger Sandberg, running for a Whitman County Superior Court judge. Roger, how you doing today?
Great, Jacob. Thank you for having me, Jacob and Jared. Yeah, it's a good day. Happy to be here. Thank you.
Awesome. So, Roger, you are running for judge. Tell us a little bit about your background, your legal experience, kind of, how you got into this whole Superior Court judge deal.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm from Moses Lake originally, and grew up there. Went to high school there, graduated, then went to Whitworth College in Spokane. Then went to law school after that. Ended up in Pullman about right after law school. So I've been here since 2008, and just been living in Pullman, practicing law. Got three kids, 16, 14, and 11. And so, yeah, just been at the same office building the entire career, last 17 and a half years. It's private practice, so doing a little bit of everything that walks in the door: criminal cases, family law cases, evictions, protection orders. I mean, all sorts of things. So it's small town law. It's good. It's good work-life balance. We kind of came over here. Could have got a job in Seattle or something, but things are cheaper over here. So yeah, we're glad to be here. And I've been doing, so yeah, I've been a lawyer for about 17 and a half years. But, just a couple years after we got here, they started asking me to do what's called pro tem judge work, where you're basically filling in for the judge when he's gone. So been doing that for about 14 years. So yeah, happy to be in Pullman. I guess I'm a Pullmanite at this point. Lived here about as long as any other place in my life. So yeah.
So you're running, like I said, for Superior Court judge. Currently, that's Judge Libby is the Superior Court judge. Can you tell us a little bit about what the Superior Court judge does?
Yeah. So yeah, you're right. So Whitman County has one Superior Court judge right now. It's Gary Libby. He's been there for the last 7 years. It'll be, he'll finish up his term at the end of this calendar year. That'll be 8 years. Judge before him was David Frazier. Whitman County's got one Superior Court judge. Other counties around the state, it depends on your population. So King County's got like 54 judges. Spokane's got 13 judges. I think Snohomish has 17 judges. We've got one. And then, Asotin, Garfield, and Columbia counties share one judge. So it kind of just depends on your population. So yeah, Superior Court is the general trial court for the county. So you're going to hear felony cases there, family law cases, a variety of civil cases, juvenile, basically anything that involves children is going to be in Superior Court, compared to District Court, which is where you hear misdemeanor cases, small claims, traffic tickets. We've got one District Court judge in Whitman County who's John Hart. And so, so that's kind of what the Superior Court judge does. I mean, you're hearing a lot of cases, on this real estate podcast. We're hearing evictions. We're hearing, land disputes between neighbors, property line disputes, boundary disputes, things like that. Now if there's tenants have a dispute about who's responsible for their half of the rent, that might be in District Court for a small claims case. But yeah, evictions are going to be in Superior Court. So yeah, big cases too. I mean, they hear cases like this last year, the Pac-12 case, the Pac-2 case was decided in Whitman County Superior Court with the that had major implications for all of the schools in the Pac-12. Of course, you're going to hear a lot of serious felony criminal cases as well. So yeah, that's kind of what the Superior Court judge does.
Let's talk about that Pac-12 thing for a quick second, Jacob and Roger.
Yeah.
That was a big deal for that to actually be able to come through Pullman. And what led that through Pullman, that whole, because that's involving California schools, Oregon schools, Washington schools, Arizona, is how did we get that here?
It
And
actually
what
came through Colfax.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, so WSU was the plaintiff, the one who filed the lawsuit, and they just chose to file it in Whitman County Superior Court. And so, I mean, what specifically was going on is that I think the Pac-12 president or director wanted to call a meeting amongst all the schools and vote on some things, and WSU asked for an injunction saying, hey, these other people aren't members of the Pac-12. You can't hold this meeting. And so they filed, WSU filed a lawsuit in Whitman County Superior Court. And that was a strategic decision by them. It could have been a federal case potentially if you have parties that are in different states. You have what's called diversity jurisdiction, and you can file federal cases. The other schools could have potentially sought to remove the case to federal court. They didn't. I mean, that's a strategic decision on their part. I don't know why. I don't know all of the reasons why they did the things they did. But yeah, WSU filed it here. We had a hearing. I think it was filed on a Thursday. Had a hearing on a Monday, I believe, and then that was sort of a preliminary decision, and then within a month or 6 weeks had a second sort of the final trial court decision, and then it was immediately appealed to the Washington State Supreme Court, who essentially affirmed what the trial court had done, and from there the parties settled. I don't know the terms of the settlement, but yeah, the case is done at this point.
I think Oregon State and Washington State considered it a win, whatever those terms were.
Yeah, I mean they certainly won at the trial court level, and yeah, that certainly strengthened their bargaining position, I'm sure. So go Cougs! I mean, that was
might not have won the Apple. Might not have won the Apple Cup, but we won.
We won the Court Cup. Yeah.
Oh, man.
So yeah, I just thought it was interesting that a local judge, because they could have asked for a different judge, right, to overhear the case.
Yeah, they could. So each party in a lawsuit has the right to file what's called an affidavit of prejudice or a notice of disqualification before the judge makes a discretionary decision. So they could have come in on Monday morning and they don't have to give a reason why. They just say, hey, I don't want this judge. I don't feel I'm going to, and they just file that and it's automatic. They have to, a new judge has to be assigned. And so for our Whitman County process would be go through Spokane. Spokane administrators would determine who the judge would be, and it's just sort of on a rotational basis. Could be from Spokane, could be from Asotin County, Adams County, Lincoln County. But anyway, yeah, they chose to just proceed, and I don't. I'm sure they have their reasons, but yeah,
there has been some high profile cases that the judge that would be in your seat have had between Gary Libby having that one, and we all know David Frazier had a really well nationally known, very sad case years ago as well. So
yeah.
A lot of pressure, I guess. Yeah. Wow.
A lot of pressure. Yeah. I mean, yeah, Dave Frazier had that decision involving Fred Russell. And I mean, those criminal cases are serious. Unfortunately, it seems like in the last year or so, there have been a few more of them in Whitman County. There's a couple murders pending right now. At least one is filed as first-degree murders. Another, they might be sort of manslaughter or second-degree murder. But yeah, there's some serious violent felonies pending in Whitman County right now, and of course across the border we got the case in Moscow, which is a serious case. Whitman County played a small role in that. The Whitman County judge had to sign a search warrant for Mr. Koberger's apartment, which was located in Whitman County. So, and then yeah, I mean we had this nationally high-profile, child kidnapping in the last couple of weeks.
Just
And there's a
recently,
lot of
yeah.
things going on with that case still. I mean, they chose to file charges in federal court, so there's not a criminal case pending for that in Whitman County Court, but there's a lot of other things going on. A lot of search warrants were issued through Whitman County. So yeah.
Oh,
So, do you, as like when you're running, do you say you're Republican or you're Democrat, or how does that
Yeah,
look?
no, it's get asked that a lot, and I'm neither. First of all, I personally am neither. I don't belong to either political party. I've voted for people from both parties in the past. Kind of just depends on the individual, depends on the issue, as far as how I feel about it. But the judge position is required to be nonpartisan. There are some elections in the state of Washington which are just required to be nonpartisan. This is one of those, and so it's nonpartisan. Just in the judicial case, that's so that people will feel they get a fair shot when they come to court. If I am running as a Republican or a Democrat, some person who's of the other political persuasion might feel they're not going to get a fair case. Um, so yeah, it's nonpartisan. There's a good reason for that, and just me personally, that's kind of where I lie anyway. Um, so yeah, that's probably the most common question I get asked. So yeah.
What running for judge outside of signs and yards and things like what how does one get the word out? Are you doing door knocking and that kind of thing?
Yes, we're doing everything, man. It's the full court
Parades.
press. You're doing parades. You're doing door knocking. I think I said the other day. I think I did 7 parades, but no, I was thinking more. I've done 10 parades so far. We did uh, St. John, Garfield, Rosalia, Tico, Oakdale, Albion, Johnson, of course, and La Crosse, Colfax, and then Lentil Fest, Pullman. So we've done 10 parades. We got one more to go. Yeah, I mean you're just doing a lot. I mean, doing a lot of door knocking. Of course, advertising and newspapers, social media, just trying to get the word out. That's it. It's kind of an interesting process running an election for judge. I mean, of course, at the end of the day, a judge is supposed to be independent. Is supposed to not favor anybody. But it's an elected position, so you go out and you're trying to get endorsements. I've got endorsements from, of course, the current judge Gary Libey, the guy, and the judge before him, David Frazier, but also from a lot of law enforcement people, Sheriff Brett Myers, County Prosecutor Dennis Tracy, and those kind of um, people who are part of the criminal justice system. I mean, those are important endorsements to have. I'm glad I have them, but it does feel a little awkward because people think, oh, you're always going to rule for the sheriff or for the prosecutor, and that's not the case. I think those two individuals in particular just have seen me in court. I've dealt with them. I mean, really, they've both been in office the entire time I've been a lawyer, so I've been dealing with them the last 17 and a half years. They know I am fair, know I can do a good job. And so I think that's the reason they're endorsing me. It's not because I'm going to rule in their favor all the time. But yeah, it's you're just out doing everything. I mean, Gary Libey announced I think it was back in fall or winter of 2023 that he was just going to finish out his term and then not run again. And he endorsed me in that announcement. And then it's basically been since then that I've kind of been just getting out there, spreading the word, putting up signs. I put up signs pretty early. I recognize I put them up pretty early. They've been up a long time, but it's been a long process. So yeah, we got another 2 months to go, less than 2 months before ballots will be in mailboxes again. So got to just keep doing it.
So I was just gonna say that. So you got two months left, and then as soon as, let's say, you get elected, then you start like the next day. You replace Gary Libby. Is there any kind of like transition?
Yeah,
How's
so
that
the
work?
election day is November 5th, and you'll get some preliminary results that evening, but the election won't be finalized, certified until, 3 weeks later, I believe. And then, no, yeah, I would take office in January. I don't know the specific date, but yeah, there'd be a swearing in process, and then you begin. And I've already been doing it. I'm currently a court commissioner, so I'm already on the bench from time to time. Um, so I already own the robe. I'm ready to go. So just
Yes.
step right in and keep going.
I was thinking of something. Uh, so is Gary retiring? Like, is he done practice or that probably?
Yeah,
But
he's
I
he's
heard a rumor that his golf cart got stolen right after it got delivered. So he's gonna
correct.
pick up something other than golf.
Well, he did. It got stolen, but they were able to recover it. They
Oh,
recovered
they
it.
did.
They
I'd
did,
never
yeah.
heard the outcome of that.
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
able to track the guys down, and so he's got the golf cart back.
It's
It
a
had
lot.
some damage to it, but he will be able to continue to golf. He's not presiding over that case. We have to have the.
I was
I think
wondering.
the Adams County
Um,
judge is presiding over that case. Yeah. Um,
yeah, his son Patrick was selling a house for. He sold my Patrick Lively sold my house for me, and
okay.
he called me one day and like, you're not going to believe what happened to the judge's brand new golf cart. I was like, no.
Yeah,
Well, anyhow,
that was
back
the
on
wrong, that
track,
was the
you
wrong
guys.
golf court to steal, I think. I mean, I think the sheriffs took that one pretty seriously. So, um, yeah,
Yeah.
bad decision.
So what? I just had a question. What would you do differently than Libby as the new Superior Court judge?
I mean, you just, that's the thing about running for judge is you're not, there's not a particular agenda that you're pushing. You're not trying to say I'm gonna always rule in favor of mothers or always rule in favor of fathers or so, I mean every case is different, so there's not really a particular agenda that you're pushing. You just really you're running on just saying, hey, I'm the best person for the job. I've got the most experience. I know what I'm doing. I mean, running for judge is you got to have a certain amount of technical knowledge to run for judge. You have to be an active lawyer in good standing in the state of Washington to run for judge. You can't just anybody off the street is not allowed legally to run for judge. So um, you just gotta you're just kind of saying, listen, I've done every type of case that's going to come before the court. I'm the best person for the job. Um, and that's it. So I mean, really, you're just gonna do a good job at the position. I mean, there's some little things that some people probably aren't aware of that I think we could do differently. Um, for example, Superior Court doesn't have a probation department. Um, Whitman County District Court has a probation department, but Superior Court doesn't, and so um, we so that shows up in a couple different ways. Pre-trial services. We don't have a pre-trial services department. So if somebody gets arrested for a drug offense, and you say, okay, I'm going to release you, on bail or without bail, whatever, but I'm going to make you subject to UAs. You got to take UAs while this case is pending. Well, how do you enforce that? I mean, who's doing the UAs? and so what we've been doing is we've been relying on the juvenile department to do the UAs for us, which and we're really not, paying the juvenile probation officer any more money to do that, but we've kind of been just saying, hey, why don't you do these, and there's a lot of other things. I mean, district court has some Scram devices, which is one of these ankle bracelets that detects alcohol. And they put those on people routinely as a pretrial release condition to determine whether they're consuming alcohol. We don't, district court has those bracelets, and Superior Court doesn't have any of those. So, if I wanted to say, if there was an alcohol related offense and I wanted to say, hey, I want you to wear one of these bracelets, the person has to pay for it themselves, essentially, which most people can't do in the criminal system anyway. It usually costs about, with an installation fee, about $450 for the first month, $300 a month thereafter, and the types of people that are coming through the court can't pay that. So anyway, so that's one big thing. I mean, I think we need to have, and then that's just pre-trial. Post-conviction, if somebody gets convicted and you say, okay, here, as part of your sentence, I want you to do community service. I want you to do drug treatment. You got to get into treatment. You got to do treatment. And if you don't, then, we're going to. Sorry, were we looked like we stopped recording for a second.
When you're someone's phone, your phone must have been ringing, but we're back.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, if you tell somebody to get into treatment, you kind of just, there's nobody to help them do that. There's nobody to point them in the right direction, nobody to tell them where to go. And so it's just like, okay, here's your sentence. Good luck. We'll see you in a couple months and see if you've done anything. And that just doesn't work. So now some of the sentences in Superior Court are going to be supervised by the State Department of Corrections if it's a more serious type of offense or somebody's going to prison or something like that. So there is some supervision for different types of cases, but anyway, that's a big gap. There's some other things, that I think could be done a little more smoothly. But yeah, basically, you're just trying to do the job the best it can be done. And a lot of it, requires the county commissioners to help out with a little bit of funding. That's a big problem. One of the reasons we don't have, a probation department. But I think everybody could get on board and see there's some obvious benefit to the community to do it, to providing some funding for that.
Huh.
Sorry, did I go
What do you think?
ramble on there?
No,
No,
you're good.
I'm thinking about those Scram devices and how a lot of people's spouses are like, how can I get my hands on one of those when my husband goes golfing?
Yeah, you can do them. You can do that. You got portable breath test devices you can pay for. Absolutely, there's some things.
That'll help fund it. There we go.
There you go.
You can cut that out, Jacob.
So what do you see as the biggest challenge going into your judgehood? What do you call it? What do you call it? Your what do you see? Because I mean, on the real estate side of things, I see some huge challenges. For property owners, it seems like real estate rights are being taken away from them every day. Like this, especially in Washington State, they're really trying to, take away property rights from property owners, especially people that own rental properties. It's really hard to the tenant law seems like it's kind of backwards. So what do you think? How do you feel on that?
I mean, yeah, no question. It's hard to evict a tenant in Washington State. I don't know how it compares to other states, but I think it's intentionally hard to evict somebody in Washington State. That's been sort of the legislative decision to say, hey, if you want to, and that it was hard before the pandemic, and the legislature, intentionally made it, there's an eviction moratorium for pretty much throughout the entire pandemic. I believe they passed some laws that made it even harder post-pandemic to evict. So now you have to kind of work out a payment plan or offer a payment plan. So there's just some additional steps that you got to jump through. Tenants can be given an attorney in eviction proceedings, without cost to them. So yeah, it's a legislative decision to make it hard to evict people. My job as a judge is just to follow the law. I mean, there are some pretty specific statutes that have to be followed. My job as an attorney is in advising people. I've represented tenants, I've represented landlords. Honestly, after the pandemic and these eviction moratoriums, I stopped representing landlords because it was just too. I was afraid of screwing something up. I mean, there's so many new laws, and landlords were frequently getting hit with attorney fees orders saying, "Hey, you screwed up the process. You have to pay the tenant's attorney fees." And I didn't want to be the lawyer that screwed that up. And frankly, it was sort of a small part of my practice anyway. So I said, "Listen, I'm not going to take the risk. I'll refer you to somebody who's doing more of those evictions, more consistently. They're less likely to screw something up." So yeah, as a judge, I just would be trying to, follow the law. Um, but yeah, it's tough, man. We've had the opportunity to maybe buy, a property in Pullman, but I've just made a decision. I don't want to be a landlord. I'd rather not do that. It's just a lot of work. Unless that's really your job and you own a lot of properties and you're really, you're doing it at scale, and you're efficient at it. But to just dabble in it, I think is not something I would be willing to do. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
Well, so yeah, explain that to me. So in Washington State, so tenants get free legal support, and so if you're trying to evict a tenant, but you lose in court, so the tenant doesn't have to pay for the free legal support. So why would a landlord pay for those legal fees? That makes no sense at all to me. Like, to me, that seems like that's just crazy.
Yeah, I mean that's you got to talk to your legislator, talk to Joe Schmick, see what he can help you out with there. But yeah, I mean that's just the law that was passed is to give tenants, they have to believe they have to qualify financially, but most tenants would. Yeah, you get an attorney, and if the landlord screws something up in the process, it's pretty automatic that they would have to, if they just procedurally do something wrong, they would, and the tenant wins, they're likely to have to pay the attorney fees, even if the tenant got a free attorney, because the attorney still, makes his money somewhere. If he's employed by Northwest Justice Project, um, Northwest Justice Project is paying his salary, so. Yeah, he would submit a cost bill and you got to pay it. Yeah, I mean, there's been like I say, there have been some interesting cases, not just at the trial court level. I mean, even if you win at the trial court level and the tenant appeals and wins at the appellate court level, you'd have to pay the appellate court fees and so yeah, I mean, you may have to go back and pay the trial court fees that were incurred there. So I mean, it's real expensive. My advice as an attorney to landlords has been or had been, just do whatever you can to get the tenant out. Pay them $500 to if they're willing to move out. It will save you money in the long run. Just try to avoid a contested court hearing at all costs. That's just keep working. Yeah, you're going to lose some money if the tenant is 3 months behind in rent and they just haven't paid. But that's part of being a landlord, I guess. You're you're going to deal with people who get behind on rent. That's part of it. And so yeah,
Recovering it's going to cost more than trying to fight it. Yeah.
it would cost more. Well, yeah, and you just run the risk of getting something wrong. So I mean, the court procedures are not so difficult that somebody can't figure them out. But if you're going to court once every 3 years, then yeah, there's a good chance you could be hit with a $10,000 cost bill. So
Good to know. Well, Roger, Jared, I think that's about all I got for today. Somebody's been blowing up my phone. I got to deal with deal with somebody. But anything, Roger? Anything you'd like to say? Like vote for Roger or something like that.
yeah, vote for Roger. Yeah. No, I mean we got about October 19th, I think the auditor will be mailing out election ballots. Appreciate if you check my box and vote for me. Got to turn it back in by November 5th. So yeah, I mean, I'm happy. If anybody has any more questions, feel free to reach out. We got, of course, the campaign website, which I'm sure Jacob can put in the description. And send me an email, give me a call. Yeah, happy to talk to people. I'll be out there knocking on your door pretty soon. So we'll see you out in the community, or send me an email. So yeah, thank you guys for having me.
Thanks, Roger.
Yeah, thanks for
Jacob
being
T.
on. That was
Davis.
awesome.
He's got Jacob T. Davis's endorsement.
That's right.
Totally. Yeah.
There
Jacob T and Jared E.
There we go. All right.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right. Well, cool. Thanks, guys.
Yep. See ya.
Thanks.
Bye.